Today on Vega Goose Says we have quite an interesting show for you. We have an interesting look at the top 5 soundtracks of all time, at least in my personal opinion. We have an excellent new channel suggestion, and reaffirming who we are for those of you just joining us. Let's get into it. Now first up, this is going to be across the board for our media team. We're going to each be taking a look at our top 5 favorite soundtracks of all time. And so these are mine. Now bear in mind these are all opinion based. Just because I like something you don't doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It's all subjective. So let's get into it. Now, number 5, if I had to make a choice, would be Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Now the reason for this is really the first major Zelda game that I really got hooked on. I played the first one, played the second one, and the ones for the Super Nintendo, but I never really got into them quite as much as I did Ocarina of Time. It was really my first major Zelda experience. And the songs in it actually do hold up rather well if you go back and listen to them, even though it's on a much older system. I'd highly advise you check it out, and maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. Next number. Alright, number 4 we have Mass Effect 1. Now, I didn't play Mass Effect 1 until it came out for the PlayStation 3 last year, but I do have to say, having now played all 3 of them a lot, the first one's soundtrack is probably, in my opinion, the best. It has the best music, cues for action, for romance, for drama. It really knows exactly what it wants and how it wants it displayed. The next 2 were okay, just not quite as good as the first. Next number. Alright, number 3 I put Valkyria Chronicles. Reason being, if you've ever listened to this game, you know exactly why. Every theme is epic, and everything just meshes together to make a quality soundtrack that anyone can enjoy, whether you're playing the game or not. Number 2 was tough, because I knew I wanted it to be from the Elder Scrolls series, but I wasn't sure which game. In my head, I had it tied between Morrowind and Oblivion. But I ended up giving the nod to Morrowind. Why? Well, while Oblivion had more, I would say, updated sound, the soundtrack from Morrowind was it was the very first Elder Scrolls game that really hit me. It is without question, at least in my opinion, the best of the series as far as everything goes, and the music follows suit. The Elder Scrolls Morrowind. Next number. And finally, anyone who watched my video I made on my own channel a long time ago, my top 10 games of all time, probably knows where this is going. Final Fantasy IV. Whether it's the remake, Super Nintendo version, the Famicom, whichever one you played, that is just an amazing soundtrack, and the reason for that is I have been playing it personally for at least 21 years. I still go back to play it to this day. And a big part of that, aside from the story and all that, is the music. In fact, you'll even see some updated versions of some of the songs in newer Final Fantasy games. For example, Final Fantasy XII has a couple different themes from Final Fantasy IV, but done in a more orchestral sound. In fact, there's even an entire album you can buy from Final Fantasy IV. I believe it's called Celtic Moon, but I would have to double check that. Either way, it takes all those themes and gives it a more violin, flute kind of sound, and it's just fantastic. And so that's why overall, that's my favorite soundtrack of all time. It's one of the few video game soundtracks I actually keep on my phone so I can listen to it wherever I am. And that's it for the top 5. From me, please check in to Gamer Input and Gaming Bites to see what Vernon and Matt also believe on the topic, and that'll give you a good top 15. Now, our channel of the week this week is particularly important. In fact, this was actually the very first channel I wanted to put into the channel of the week. Now, the reason it's taking me so long, this is going to be a little bit behind the scenes here at Vega Goose Says. See, what I do it old school. If you remember I had a video where I wore a Broncos cap. I take that cap, I write down all the channels, because I have a list of like 50 channels that I want to use eventually. Put them all into the hat, grab one out. Now, hers was the reason I wanted to do a spotlight, just because I don't think she gets near as much views as she deserves. She is one of, if not the best, reviewer I've ever seen, including myself. Now, to end the suspense, her name is Meg Elizabeth Smith. Her channel will be in the description below. I would highly advise you subscribe if you haven't already. She not only gives you a game review, she clearly has a good understanding of not just the game, but the industry behind it. She's not one of these reviewers you see constantly making a joke out of everything, which I'll admit I am guilty of from time to time. Personally, she's one of the first major reviewers that I started watching myself. I really enjoy her videos, and I think you will too. Now, I first started watching when she did her Mass Effect 3 videos.
End of the journey. Before, I felt like I'd been left out in the cold. No, not left out in the cold, I'd been kicked out in the cold. With no clothes.
That's what made me find her channel. I was on another video. I happened to see hers over in the description panel for another video I might like. As soon as I watched that one, I immediately subscribed. I watched the rest of her videos. She's really funny.
On with it. Yes, get on with it! Get on with it!
I know I've gone into more detail than I do with most channel suggestions, but it is what it is. And on top of that, even though she has nearly 9,000 subscribers, she still is willing to answer pretty much anything you send to her. She answered me in less than 24 hours, and for someone who has over 9,000 subscribers, to get a response in 24 hours is amazing. Anyway, I've fanboyed enough about this particular channel. Let's move on, shall we? Now, for a long time here at Hold the Line, we've been trying to find our identity. We began with a very lofty goal, and that was to change the gaming industry. Well, as anyone in America will tell you, change doesn't mean dick unless you have some few good ideas behind it. Our true goal is to bring understanding to the gamer's point of view. It seems like nowadays you seem to have two different factions. You have the developers on one side who seem to, and now this is generalizing, I'll admit, but who seem to put profits before people a lot of the time. But then you have this group over here on the other side, who range from moderately minded people such as ourselves, all the way to the people who are shrieking on the forums because a weapon doesn't work the way they want. We want to show developers that there's more than that to gamers. You can be a gamer and not be that stereotypical, for lack of a better word, asshole. We want to show people on both sides that there can be a dialogue between us without anger and hatred on either side. Or to put it more theatrically, like this. My name is Vega Goose, and I see here an army of my countrymen ready to stand in defiance against those who would harm our great industry. You have come to stand as gamers and to defend that title. And damn fine gamers you are. We fight not just against the injustices of today, but in preparation for the great debates yet to come in the future. Standing against unfair practices isn't easy. Let it lie and you'll game, at least a while. But this think, years from now, when your great-grandchildren are playing their DRM 6000s, wouldn't you give all the days from that day to this, come back here and take one chance to stand up, look at your aggressors in the eye, and tell them they may take our lives, but they'll never take our continues! Admittedly, that's a little theatrical, but I think you get my point. In reality, we just want to prove that gamers are not people who are stuck on a quote-unquote child's toy. This is not a child's toy. It's an industry to be proud of for all involved. Now, along with that, there are a few things we are not. We're not spoiled gamers who expect everything to be free and covered in rainbow pandas. We understand that no one is perfect, be they gamer, developer, or publisher. So we're not here to just simply mock and point out every failing any company ever has. It's not why we're here, it's not what we want to be. Focusing only on imperfections make us no bigger than the people I mentioned earlier shrieking on forums. It's not what we want to be, it's not what we're going to be. Now I hope this gives you a better idea as who we at Hold the Line really are. We're geeks, we're gamers, and dare I say it, we're nerds, just like you. We love this industry, and we love it with all of our heart. Enough that we're willing to give of not only our time, but ourselves to see that it stands the test of time. As a community, we have fun. We have irreverent fun. In fact, we do a lot of things. People look at us and go, what are you doing? But we don't care what people think. We're here to be ourselves, and when the moment arises, we stand and rise to the occasion and face down whatever is happening to our industry. All we ask is that you join us on this journey. Till next time, my name is Vega Goose, saying, that's what I said, and I'll see you next week.